Pavo Nurmi, 1924. Herb Elliott, 1960. Peter Snell, 1964. Sebastian Coe, 1984. The 1500 meters has been part of every Olympiad since the modern games began in Athens in 1896. It is the metric equivalent of the mile run, and winning the Olympic 1500 is the ultimate challenge for all great mile runners. Many of the great mile runners in history have stood on the top step of the Olympic victory podium. Others have won every honor but one, an Olympic gold medal. This is the story of the classic race at the Olympic Games, the 1500 meters.
July 5th, 1924. The opening day ceremonies of the Paris Olympic Games. 44 countries have sent more than 3,000 athletes to compete here. But before the games are over, one name will stand above all the rest. Pavo Nurmi of Finland. 4 years earlier at the Antwerp Games, when Nurmi was 23, he won the 10,000-meter gold medal and the silver medal in the 5,000 meters. There is no way he can be defeated. July 10th, 1924, two distance races, the 1,500 and 5,000 meters, are scheduled within 2 hours of each other here at the Paris Games. Pavo Nurmi will compete in both races. The 1,500 meters gets underway. Nurmi leads after the first lap. He constantly checks his stopwatch. He is right on schedule. The field draws closer to Nurmi during the third lap, but Nurmi is unconcerned. If his pre-race calculations are correct, there will be no one close to him at the finish. Nurmi's strategy is perfect. He wins the 1,500-meter gold medal. Later that afternoon, Nurmi also wins the 5,000 meters and achieves the greatest double victory in Olympic history. Pavo Nurmi, the only runner in Olympic history to win 2 distance gold medals on the same afternoon. July 28th, 1928. The opening day of the Amsterdam Olympics. Pavo Nurmi returns for his 3rd Olympic Games. With him is a group of Finnish distance runners who will try to duplicate the achievements of the Flying Finns at the 1924 Paris Games. There, Pavo Nurmi and his teammate Ville Rittala won 9 gold medals. And in all, Finnish runners won every distance race from 1,500 meters to the marathon. One of the newcomers to the Finnish team at the Amsterdam Games is Toivo Lokala, who would compete against Pavo Nurmi in the 3,000-meter steeplechase.
In my race, the 3,000-meter steeplechase, I was most fortunate to win the gold medal. And it was an even greater honor because Pavo Nurmi came in second. We Finns were not so certain of victory in the 1,500 meters. The favorite for the gold medal was Jules Ladomeg of France. Our main hope rested with my teammate Harri Larva.
There are 12 finalists. 2 of them are Finns. Hans Boche, one of 3 Germans in the race, was the only man to run the distance under 4 minutes in the qualifying heats.
My teammates Paavo Nurmi and Ville Ritola and I were in the infield watching the race. In the early stages, it was a tactical race with the lead changing many times. No more than 20 meters separated the first man from the last man. With about 350 meters left in the race, my teammate Eino Purje was leading Ellis of Great Britain and Wichmann of Germany. At that point, the Frenchman Ladomeg made his move.
Purje and Ladomeg battled for the lead as Harri Larva of Finland moves into 3rd place. Ladomeg of France takes the lead. Harri Larva in 3rd place starts after him. Harri Larva of Finland first. Jules Ladomeg, France, second. Eino Purje, Finland, third.
It was a glorious victory for Harri Larva. A few days later, a Frenchman named Elo Affi won the marathon gold medal. I mention this fact because it was the first distance race in 2 Olympiads that was not won by Finnish runners. Our runners had previously won 11 races at every distance from 1,500 meters to the marathon. Never before or since has any country so dominated long-distance running in the Olympic Games.
November 1956. 100,000 spectators attend the opening day ceremonies at the Melbourne Olympic Games. "26-year-old John Landy of Australia is given the honor of reciting the Olympic oath. Landy is also Australia's hope to win the 1,500-meter gold medal. Much has happened to John Landy in the 4 years since he competed in the Helsinki Olympic Games. There, he was eliminated in the qualifying round and had to watch Josie Bartel of Luxembourg come down the stretch to defeat Bob McMillan of the United States and Van. Now here in Melbourne, fortunes have changed for Josie Bartel and John Landy. Bartel finished 10th in his qualifying heat and is eliminated from the competition. John Landy is one of the 12 finalists. 2 years earlier, Landy became the second man to run the mile under 4 minutes, less than 2 months after Roger Bannister first broke that barrier. John Landy is also Australia's national mile champion and is considered by many the favorite to win the 1,500 meters.
I think that there was really no reason why I should have been favourite for that event, particularly as I had some very poor performances immediately prior to the Olympics. I think this only indicates that in Olympics particularly, we don't have a very good guide to form. You can always have the outsider coming through. Bartel in 52 being a classic example, and I think it's because the person that's had the publicity and probably has the times is, in the eyes of the populace, is the person most likely to or should win the event.
The race continues, and with a little more than a lap to go, Landy, next to last on the inside, breaks out and passes runners on the outside. When it appears that he will go into the lead, Landy abruptly stops and falls into 5th place.
I did so, I guess, because of a lack of confidence. Then I pulled back thinking there must be something wrong, I feel too good, and I thought I'd play it as it went.
Brian Hewson of Great Britain is in 1st place, followed by Klaus Rixenhain of Germany. New Zealand's Murray Holberg in the black uniform is 3rd but tiring. Ian Boyd of Great Britain and John Landy go past him. But now Ron Delaney of Ireland in the green shirt starts to pass runners on the outside. Delaney passes the tiring Houston. Ron Delaney, Ireland first. Klaus Ritzenhein, Germany second. John Landy, Australia third. John Landy embraces Ron Delaney. There is one more honor for Ron Delaney. This is Herb Elliott of Australia. Elliott came to the 1960 Rome Olympic Games with an incredible record. He had never lost a race at either the mile or 1,500-meter distances in world-class competition. Despite this unblemished record, he is not certain of winning the Olympic 1500.
Well, I can remember being nervous, of course, because when we got to Rome, I didn't consider myself to be very fit. In Australia, I'd been running times of 4 minutes 15, 4 minutes 16 for the mile, and I really didn't think I had a hope. So for the first time in my life, I pre-planned a race instead of tactically seeing the race develop and then deciding what to do during the race. I had pre-decided what to do for this particular race and play on my reputation. My reputation was one of having been unbeaten and being a champ. We ran 2 laps, and the bloke who was calling out the lap times was, of course, calling them out in Italian, and I didn't understand what he was saying. So I had no idea whether we'd run fast or slow. All I knew was that I felt absolutely tired. The wind was whistling past my ears, and it was very difficult to find out exactly where people were behind you, and you didn't like to look around just in case you tripped up. So I was a pretty nervous bloke for 2-3. That had 2 effects, one which I experienced and the other one which I didn't experience, which was getting beaten. You'd train and train and train for a race, and then when the thing sort of stared you in the face, you wanted to get out. You got nervous as hell. And all races that I ran in had that sort of climactic feeling about them for me. So they were unpleasant eventually. Once the thrill of achievement and winning and travelling and medals and all that sort of thing was gone, all that was left was this terrible nervous tension before a race, and that's why I retired so young.
Tokyo, 1964. The opening day ceremonies of the 18th Olympiad of the modern Olympic era. This is the second time that the Games have been awarded to Tokyo. The 1940 Games, originally scheduled in Tokyo, were canceled because of World War II. More than 75,000 spectators watched the men and women athletes from 94 countries pass in review. The flag bearer for the New Zealand team, 25-year-old Peter Snell. 4 years earlier in Rome, Snell won the 800-meter gold medal. Here in Tokyo, Snell will try to win the classic double, the 800 and 1,500 meters. Because of poor performances before the Games, many wondered if Snell could win even one of these events.
Prior to Tokyo, thoughts of retirement, of course, had entered my head, and I decided that I would, in fact, stop running competitively after Tokyo. This is going to be my final big effort. In the 6 months before Tokyo, I'd work harder than I'd ever done before. And in fact, there was a period of 10 weeks in which I ran 1,000 miles, and I'd never averaged 100 miles a week before. It had always been the goal.
In the 800 meters, Peter Snell's superior finishing kick during the last 200 meters brings him first across the finish line. Peter Snell wins his second successive 800-meter gold medal. The next day, the preliminaries for the 1,500 meters are scheduled.
I think as far as the 1,500 was concerned, the most critical part for me was the first heat. It was the day after the 800 final. I was a little tired, and I really doubted whether or not I had the energy to qualify. And fortunately, I found myself in the slowest of all heats, and there was no problem after that. I had a day's rest for the semi-final, And in the semis, I don't think I've ever run a time. I think it was about 3:38.8, and it felt a time that felt so easy. I knew then, with the day's rest, that the final was going to be no difficulty.
The final of the 1,500 meters gets underway. The two runners in the all-black New Zealand uniforms, John Davies, fourth in the middle, and Peter Snell, ninth and last.
The final was a little unusual. I think someone has described it as being a race for second place. The reason is that no one seemed to be willing to make the early pace. However, that was fine as far as I was concerned, because unlike Herb Elliott, time wasn't really a great consideration for me in this.
With little more than a lap to go, John Davies leads his teammate Peter Snell, who is in second place. Now several runners in a tightly bunched field move alongside Snell, trapping him on the inside.
When I realized that I couldn't get out of this box, caused a little bit of panic, because I could find myself out of it as a result of bad positioning, and I was determined not to let it happen. And so as an initial gesture, I put out my arm. I saw that it was John Wetton alongside me in his English, all-white English vest, and I felt that maybe I sort of gently nudged him, just to give him an idea that more would come if he didn't move. He was a perfect gentleman and obligingly moved aside.
Snell is now in third place. In the lead is his teammate John Davies.
I was in the lead, and I couldn't believe that I was still in the lead in the Olympic 1,500 meters final. I started to dream. I was still sitting there leading this, the cream of the world's 1,500 meters around, wondering why should I still be in the lead. And suddenly I can remember this black singlet went zooming past me, and there was these great big bulky muscles of Snell's legs going down the track away from me, and it was actually tearing great big hunks of cinders out of the track as it went down there. That's how much power he was generating.
Off the last turn, Peter Snell leads. It is now a battle for second place. Josef Odlozil, Czechoslovakia, second. John Davies, New Zealand, third.
Crossing the finishing line, the realization that I'd had achieved the double victory, I really sort of felt very satisfied.
And so Peter Snell of New Zealand accomplishes what few believed he could do: win both the 800 and 1,500 meter gold medals. October 12, 1968. Mexico City is the host of the 19th Olympiad of the modern era. It is the first time that the Summer Olympic Games are held at high altitude. Mexico City is 7,350 feet above sea level. It is predicted that the thin air will favor the middle and long distance runners from Africa who train at high altitudes. The coach of the Kenyan team, Charles Mukhora.
We knew 4 years before, when Mexico was chosen, that there was so much talk about the altitude, and we knew definitely that we had a psychological advantage, and we capitalized on it when we got to Mexico, because our athletes would train and train hard, while most of the other athletes from the sea level would only have very, very light workouts. And we would train 2 or 3 times a day, and they would sit aside and watch Kenyans train. We capitalized on this, and this, I'm sure it worked.
During the first week of the Games, the track and field competitions are held. As expected, the long-distance runners from East Africa are less affected by the altitude of Mexico City. Sunday, October 20th, the final of the 1,500 meters. There are 12 finalists. The 2 favorites, Kip Keino of Kenya and the world record holder Jim Ryun of the United States. Although Ryun defeated Keino in the semifinals, many believe that qualifying races on 2 successive days in the high Mexico City altitude have hurt Ryun's chances in the final.
I personally didn't think that the 2 previous races had that much of an effect upon the finals. Beating Kip in the semis was not a significant thing. Really what we were trying to do was qualify. I think most importantly, it was simply the altitude problem that was presented there. I don't feel that I was exhausted in those first 2 days. I had prepared myself with the intention of running as easily as possible the first 2 days, and then we're getting to the finals, going all out and see what would happen.
The race begins, and Ben Jipcho, Keino's teammate, immediately goes into the lead. Harold Norpott of West Germany stays with him in second place. The pace is exceptionally fast for a distance race, especially since it is being run at high altitude. The reason for the punishing pace is unknown to everyone except the two Kenyans, Ben Jipcho and Kip Keino. In a pre-race meeting, it was decided that Jipcho would be the rabbit.
We asked him to sacrifice for Kip and take the people very, very fast. And because of what people had thought of the high altitude that it would affect the runners, we knew psychologically we would have beaten the opposition if we took them very, very fast on the first 2 laps.
Ben Jipcho continues to run the first part of the race at a grueling pace. Back in the pack, Jim Ryan is watching Kip Keino. He does not know that the two Kenyans are running as a team.
I felt that at the first 600 yards, first lap and a half, that we could stay within reasonable distance of Kip and be at a fairly slow or medium pace, then we would have a very good chance at him. But, you know, I was very aware of what altitude could do to a sea level man. Having trained in it for a period of time, I knew that if I went out too fast, I would get into tremendous oxygen debt, as the other sea level runners did, and then I would have wasted my best opportunity of having a good shot at Kip.
With 2 laps to go, Keino makes his move. He goes past the tiring Jipcho and into the lead. Bodo Tumler of West Germany moves into second place, and his teammate Harold Norpott falls back to third. Jipcho in fourth place is exhausted and is about to be passed by John Whetton of Great Britain. Ryan in 10th starts to move up. Keino does not slacken his pace. With a lap and a quarter to go, he leads Tumler by 4 yards, followed by Norpott and Whetton. Jipcho is in 5th place, with Ryan about to go into 6th. Down the backstretch, Ryan finally makes his move. Passing Whetton, he goes after the West Germans. Ryan passes Norpott, but Tumler fights him off. Up front, Keino still leads them by 20 meters. Ryan now knows he cannot catch Kip Keino.
He had such an incredible lead at that point that it was a matter of how many people you could get by, and unless he faltered tremendously in the last lap, the last 200 yards, there'd be very little chance to catch him. And yet, I certainly didn't want to, you know, step off on the side of the track and give away a silver or a bronze medal. I really felt that I had an opportunity, and I think the reason I feel so strongly about that is that with 300 yards to go, as I went by the other sea-level runners and I saw what agony they were in, I really felt that they were very fine runners and could have been in that race, but they had extended themselves so much in the beginning of the race, there was no way that they could recover from that oxygen debt.
Kip Keino has 75 meters to go. Kip Keino, Kenya first. Jim Ryan, United States second. Bodo Tumler, West Germany third. Ben Jipcho, the rabbit, recalls the race.
It was unfair to people like Jim Ryan, Norpott, and Tumler, and, you know, probably same to me. I feel that Jim Ryan would have won a medal, a gold medal there, or a Norpott, but because of the whole thing, it destroyed almost everybody, of which, as I told you, it was very good for Kenya, very good, but it was unfair to other guys.
If there was a plot, there was a plot. What it does is it takes away some of the credibility from Kip's victory. He ran very well, I thought. In fact, when I was competing with Jipcho sometime later, he apologized for having done what he had done. He didn't feel that was a very fair situation. What the Olympics are supposed to be is, you know, man against man and not team against man or whatever it might be.
August 1972, the opening day ceremonies of the Munich Olympic Games. 4 years after the 1,500-meter final in Mexico City, the gold and silver medalists in this event are given a special honor. Kip Keino of Kenya and Jim Ryun of the United States are 2 of 4 athletes selected to follow the Olympic torchbearer into the stadium. For Keino and Ryun, the 1,500 meters here in Munich has special significance. The last Olympic competition for them both. It is Keino's chance to become the first man to win the race twice. For Jim Ryun, the 1,500-meter world record holder, it's his chance to prove that he's the finest miler in the world. September 8th, 1972, Jim Ryun and Kip Keino are entered in the same qualifying heat. Both are expected to qualify easily. With a little more than a lap to go, Keino shares first place. Ryun, back in the pack, is about to make his move.
Ladies and gentlemen, Jim Ryun has just gone down on the backstretch of this qualifying heat, the 1,500 meters. Jim Ryun, trying to go to the outside, has just fallen down. He's now about 100 yards away from the back of the pack. Jim Ryun is going to be out of the final of the 1,500 meters. Ladies and gentlemen, the most incredible thing that we've ever seen in Olympic history. Jim Ryun has just gone down. Jim Ryun trailing way behind now, about 150 yards to go. The crowd is going wild. Kip Keino has come in the winner in this heat. Jim Ryun, with a tremendous burst of applause from the crowd, is crossing the finish line, and now Kip Keino is going over to him. Jim Ryun, his Olympic gold medal hopes eliminated for all time.
I fell in such a way that I hit my head on the railing, and I was unconscious for a period of 15 seconds. I got back up, and my first response was that I prayed and I asked the Lord to help me, because if you have prepared for something for that long and then have it, so to speak, pulled out from underneath you, it's very, very difficult to, accept that. Anyway, I thought I had been fouled, but there was nothing that seemingly was going to prove that I had been. And the international officials' response was, in essence, I'm summarizing, gee, that's too bad, we're sorry it happened. One of them identified saying it happened to him in 1928, but they weren't going to reinstate me, and that's the way it was, even though there was a foul.
September 10th, 1972, the final of the 1,500 meters. The favorite to win, Kip Keino. 6 days earlier, Keino won the 3,000-meter steeplechase gold medal, defeating his teammate Ben Jipcho, who was the rapid in the Mexico City final 4 years earlier. Keino's main opposition in the 1,500 meters is expected to come from his teammate Mike Boit and Pekka Vasala of Finland. But Vasala is tired from his 2 qualifying races in 2 successive days. Pekka Vasala, wearing the blue shirt closest to the camera, is surprised that Mike Boit is not setting a fast pace for Kip Keino, as Ben Jipcho had done 4 years earlier.
No, we didn't plan anything. I told Boit he's there to try his best. He's there to win his own. If I lose, let him win. But both of us was trying for our own best. We didn't have to, I didn't want to use anybody, and I don't want to use anybody. In fact, for that reasons, Boit was standing also a very good chance. So it was Boit, myself, and anyone who is ready to win.
Early in the race, Pekka Vasala is on the inside in 4th place. Keino and Boit are content to stay behind him. Their positions remain the same for another lap. Then Keino passes runners on the outside to take the lead. Coming up to the final lap, Pekka Vasala has moved to 2nd place behind Keino. Brendan Foster, Great Britain 3rd, and Rod Dixon, New Zealand 4th. Down the backstretch, Foster of Great Britain fades, and Dixon moves alongside Vasala to share 2nd place. Keino still leads, but Pekka Vasala looks as if he could pass him at any time.
I knew that I have a chance because last year I beat him, but I just thinking in my mind that I follow so long time Keino as I can, and if I can pass him, okay, I pass him.
I knew from the last 200 meters, because I became a bit steep. I wasn't relaxed completely. And from that, well, I knew that I'm going to lose the event.
With 200 meters left, it is Keino, Vasala, Boit, and Dixon. At the final turn, Keino looks back. Vasala is right behind him. Pekka Vasala, Finland first. Kip Keino, Kenya second. Rod Dixon, New Zealand third. Mike Boyd, Kenya fourth. Once again, no man has won the Olympic 1500 meters twice. Montreal, 1976. The opening day ceremonies take place without athletes from 24 African nations who are boycotting the games for political reasons. One of the results of the African boycott is that Philbert Bayi of Tanzania will not be there to run against John Walker of New Zealand in their long-awaited confrontation in the 1500 meters. The rivalry between Bayi and Walker began at the 1974 Commonwealth Games, where Bayi defeated Walker and set a world record for the 1500 meters. Then in 1975, Walker broke Bayi's world record for the mile, and the scene was set for the 1500-meter duel at the Montreal Games. Now with Bayi out of competition, John Walker of New Zealand is the favorite.
Right, everybody was talking about Bayi Walker. Every time I trained, that's all I thought about was beating Bayi. And I anticipated that the Olympics were going to be exactly the same way at the Commonwealth Games. I got myself into such great shape eventually that I felt that I was capable of breaking the world record for 1500 meters. And I thought that possibly at Montreal, it would take a super effort of at least 3:33 to break to win the Olympic gold medal. But of course the Olympic boycott came, and then all of a sudden the Africans were gone, including Bayi.
9 men line up for the final. John Walker is in New Zealand's all-black uniform. Eamon Coghlan of Ireland is wearing a green shirt. Walker and Coghlan are the only men to have won both their qualifying heats, leading to the final. 2 others are given an outside chance for the gold medal, Rick Wolhuter of the United States and Ivo van Dam of Belgium.
Eamon Coghlan was very, very impressive in his heats, and I know that the rumor had gone around the village, and I assure you it didn't take very long for rumors to sort of start speculating, and that as far as they were concerned, that I was going to be second or third. Eamon Coghlan was going to be the toughest one, and maybe him and Van Dam were going to be fighting it out.
Now with a lap and a half. Down the backstretch, Walker is in the lead. He is still concerned about Ivo van Dam and Rick Wolhuter.
These guys had run second and third in the 800 meters. I was put out. Also, they were very good over 400 meters. I can remember with 300 meters to go that Rick Wolhuter sort of came up to my shoulder, and I didn't want anybody to sort of get in front of me. And I immediately just got startled and took off as fast as I could.
Coming off the final turn, it is Walker, Van Dam, Coghlan, with Velman coming up on the inside. John Walker, New Zealand first. Ivo van Dam, Belgium second. Paul Heinz Velman, West Germany third. Eamon Coghlan, Ireland fourth.
Surprisingly enough, after I crossed the finishing line, I thought with the last 300 meters that I knew it coming around the bend. I thought I'd won the race by something like 10 or 15 meters. And I can remember easing down a little bit at the finish and thinking, wow, you know, I'm fine. And then all of a sudden I saw all these athletes sort of flashing up on the outside. It was Van Dam and Paul Heinz Velman. And immediately I crossed the line. I thought, had I won, you know? And it wasn't until I turned around and saw the screenplay of the big video that was in the stadium that I realized then that I'd won. And the other athletes sort of came over and congratulated me.
The victory ceremony takes place. John Walker stands on the top step of the podium. He joins his countrymen Jack Lovelock and Peter Snell as a winner of the Olympic 1500-meter gold medal.
I can remember standing on the platform at the victory dais, listening to the national anthem, feeling very, very proud. I'd done all these points, I'd broken the world records, and I'd won the Olympic gold medal. And I think standing on the victory dais was just, thank God it's all over.
It is Saturday, August 11th, the final of the 1500 meters. The winner of the race is expected to come from one of 5 runners representing 2 countries. Steve Scott and Jim Spivey of the United States, and 3 milers from Great Britain. Steve Cram, the 1983 1500-meter world champion. Sebastian Coe, the defending Olympic champion. And Steve Ovech, the world record holder who came in third behind Coe in Moscow 4 years earlier at the 1980 Olympics. It is a rare Olympic moment. Now here in Los Angeles, all three British runners have had difficulties in the months leading to this final. Steve Cram had had a succession of groin, calf, and ankle injuries. Coe's poor form because of illnesses almost cost him a place on the British 1500-meter team. He was beaten in the British Championships 5 weeks before the Games. Nevertheless, Coe was selected to join Steve Ovech and Steve Cram as Britain's representatives. His selection was almost unanimously disapproved by the British press. The third British finalist, Steve Ovech, is a surprise. He was hospitalized with respiratory problems after coming in last in the 800 meters. Against his doctor's orders, Ovech left the hospital to qualify for this final. Sebastian Coe breaks out quickly, but Omar Khalifa of Sudan in the black shorts and Joseph Cheshire of Kenya make the turn first. With 2.5 laps left, Steve Scott of the United States in the red uniform makes a big move on the outside. He goes from 8th place into the lead. At this early stage, Scott's strategy is designed to quicken the pace and force the runners with strong finishing kicks to expend energy early in the race. 1 year earlier at the World Championships in Helsinki, Scott was outkicked by Steve Cram of Great Britain in a thrilling stretch duel. Khalifa of Sudan, number 780, follows Scott into the turn as Sebastian Coe moves into 3rd place. Cram is behind Coe. Down the stretch, coming up to 2 laps to go. Scott still leads. Coe is second. Abascal of Spain moves alongside Khalifa. Cram is 5th. They hold their positions for the next 100 meters, but down the back stretch, Scott has been unable to shake off the other runners. Coe is second, Abascal of Spain 3rd, Khalifa Sudan 4th, followed by Steve Cram and Steve Ovech of Great Britain.
The leader is Steve Scott, and the intermediate time is shown on 4:1.
With 600 meters left, Scott has lost his gamble. Abascal moves past the tiring American into the lead. Coe is second. He is followed by his teammates, Steve Cram and Steve Ovech. Moving into 5th place, Jim Spivey of the United States. Unbeknownst to anyone, Steve Ovech is having difficulty breathing.
With 1 lap to go, Jose Abascal and the intermediate time is shown on scoreboard P.
Into the turn with less than a lap to go, the exhausted Steve Ovech retires from the race. Down the backstretch with 300 meters left. Abascal leads, followed by Cram and Coe of Great Britain. Coe now starts his finishing kick. Cram tries to stay with it. Abascal is 3rd. Joseph Cheshire of Kenya has moved into 4th. Sebastian Coe 1st, Steve Cram 2nd, Jose Abascal, Spain 3rd. Sebastian Coe stands on the top step of the victory platform. For Sebastian Coe, there is one additional honor. The 1500 meters has been run in every Olympiad, since the Olympic Games were revived in Athens in 1896. And Sebastian Coe becomes the first and only man to ever win the gold medal twice.
It is October 1st, 1988, the final of the 1500 meters at the Seoul Olympic Games. Sebastian Coe and Steve Ovech were not selected to run the 1500 meters, but the British will have two runners in the 12-man final. Steve Cram, who finished second to Coe in 1984, and Peter Elliott, fourth in the 800 meters 5 days earlier. Steve Scott, another returnee from the Los Angeles Games, is the main hope for the United States. Kenya will be represented by three men: Joseph Cheshire, Kip Keino, and 21-year-old Peter Rono, a sophomore at Mount St. Mary's College, Maryland.
On your mark.
As the race gets underway, Steve Cram and Peter Elliott go into the lead from their inside positions. But after the first lap, they are passed by Marcus O'Sullivan of Ireland and Omar Khalifa of Sudan. Cram and Elliott are right behind them. This now becomes a tactical race, with all 12 men still in contention for the gold medal. In the next two laps, the lead changes several times. With 1 lap to go, Peter Rono of Kenya is in front, followed by Jeff Atkinson of the United States. Elliott and Cram are third and fourth. Jens Peter Harold of East Germany in the blue shirt is fifth, and Steve Scott sixth. Down the backstretch for the last time, it's still Rono, followed by Elliott, Harold third, Atkinson fourth, Steve Cram fifth. Now the critical moments for Peter Rono. He's been in the lead the whole last lap and must now hold off the final kicks of the two British runners and Harold of East Germany. Peter Rono first, Peter Elliott second, Jens Peter Harold third, Steve Cram fourth. For Peter Rono, it is a significant moment. He becomes the first Kenyan to win the 1500-meter gold medal since the legendary Kip Keino won the event 20 years earlier at the 1968 Mexico City Olympics.
It is August 8th, 1992, the final of the 1500 meters. 12 men have made it to the final. A man here in Barcelona to win both his qualifying races. Also given a chance at one of the medals, Fermin Cacho of Spain, Joseph Cheshire of Kenya, and Jens Peter Harold of Germany, who won the bronze medal 4 years earlier in Seoul. Jim Spivey is the lone American to make it to the final. First, to win the premier running event on the Olympic program in his own homeland. Equally historic, he is the only Spanish runner